Where are you dialing in from today?
I'm home in Nashville. Where are you at?
Long Island, New York. The kind of
very
place that a lot of people who live by you have, came from. They had enough of this place or LA, and then they moved to Nashville, right?
Yeah, that is true. But I've lived in New York, and
Right.
I've known many a Long Islander.
Well, yeah, you're an alumnus of that great music school that gave the world you and Dan Deacon. Out of curiosity, if you don't mind me asking this, who else was in your class of composers up there? Anyone that we would
Dan
know?
was there, and in the first band that I ever tried to put together, Dan played tuba, which was pretty amazing. I think we played like 2 shows together.
Right.
And Ina Spector.
Wow.
And Jenny O, if you know her.
Yeah.
Who else was there? A band called Woods, who are incredible. This guy James Jackson Toth, he's done like Wooden Wand. And I'm probably forgetting some. It was a heck of a group of folks when I was there.
Great talent pool, yourself included, and I appreciate you taking the time to do this. We were set up through the wonderful people of the Park City Song Summit. Do you have a lot of history with Park City, or is this just a one-off where they said come out and you said yes?
The latter. I've been to Park City, but yeah, the latter. Yeah. Do you mean like a lot of history with this event?
Well, in general, with the event, I believe it was done once before and it was canceled once before. But a lot of people who are prolific songwriters like yourself, maybe they played an ASCAP party for Sundance, or maybe they played a private thing as part of Slam Dance. I was curious if that was you in any case, that you'd been to Park City, Utah a few times.
I've been to Park City. I had one sort of like bizarre / lukewarm experience at Sundance.
Sure.
I was there for a friend brought me out for a film that he did, and it was interesting to see the scene that happened there. But yeah, you are correct as far as I know too. This was the first Park City Song Summit that was obviously postponed due to COVID.
Yeah. Well, the magic term that you just said, COVID. A lot of artists that I've interviewed kind of did the writer's block thing during COVID, where they didn't feel inspired, they didn't know what to do. In your case, you wrote a great album, you made it happen. Was the plan to have an album done around them, or was that just an improvised curveball?
No, there was zero plan, and I think that alongside with certain other things that were going on in my life personally, and the war, sort of the world and our culture at large, led me to a sort of a creative burst. But there was zero intention, expectation to write and record a record, and I think that was probably very helpful, and almost like a beauty in the shit, the flower and the shit, if you will. There was something sweet, if I dare say so. There were, I think, spiritual elements of the lockdown and the pandemic for myself, and I don't think I'm terribly unique in that.
No.
Of course, being very fortunate that I or nobody that I I'm super close with got terribly ill and all that. There was just like a forced slowing down, and all of the sort of career and societal and whatever other kind of personal pressures one feels they sort of were on hold. And I think that helped to make music without any kind of overly precious, lens on it, or for me to be too agenda oriented. It was just it was like being 12 again, of like making music for the of making music
for the right reasons, if I can say so.
You could say so.
And if I could talk a little more about Strawberry Mansion, that album we're discussing here, having 19 songs on there, one of them a demo. I was trying to think of how many other albums I could think of that have 18, 19 songs. It's really just your album and Hot in the Shade by Kiss. Did you have anyone going, oh man, cut it down to 13? Did you have an A&R person in the process that was going, please?
No, I was the only one. I was the only one that thought for a minute to do that. One, the songs are pretty short, so there's that. And I always think I don't have enough songs before I'm about to make a record, and then I will write a few, sometimes a few more, almost kind of force them out. And then it can be a nice process to have too many songs sometimes, and you dwindle them down, like you said. And in this case, I think because of the nature of how they weren't written over the span of a year or 2 years or 3 years. They were written in the span of 2.5 months.
Right.
I think more so in kind of like almost like a journal or diary form, more so than I think I had written before. And they were almost happening every day, every other day or something for a while. That when it became evident that I had a record and I wanted to make it, and then after making it, I felt, and nobody, people around me thought so, maybe even more so than I felt, and then I just agreed with them that that these were all the songs that were happening in this very kind of particular moment in time, and that releasing all of them what was a fine and good thing to do. And so I was all for that.
When I mentioned that your album and that Kiss album were the only albums that I could think of that had that many songs that I liked, is that a horrifying thought? Or did you actually start off in the Kiss, Van Halen vernacular before you became more song oriented?
Well, I wouldn't say that they're less song oriented. It's just different kind of song, but I know what you mean. Do you mean, am I horrified by the comparison of Kiss?
Yeah. No. Okay, that was the answer that I was hoping for.
Yeah, not for their, maybe for some of their personalities, I don't know, but not for their theatrics nor their music. I'm a fan of both.
Got it. So when it comes to writing an album, are you compiling usually like long-term songs come in dribs and drabs? Or are you the kind of artist that goes, I'm going to make an album, and then you have that deadline and you start writing?
Yeah, not that. Not that. Deadlines, they caused me a great deal of mishigas, a Yiddish word for anxiety.
You're speaking to a New Yorker, so yeah.
Oh, so you got it. Yeah, it causes me a lot of anxiety, which then does a deadline can help me, but it terrifies me. And I've also never really worked with a record label that pushed me in that way. So it's really when a record is done, and particularly the label that I'm with now, I'm fortunate that I get their support to do it and to do it in the way that we see fit creatively. But yeah, so no, I don't. What I will say is that when I go through periods where I'm not writing, there's an unpleasantness to that I think a lot of people that write or are creative in any way experience. And that is when I think, oh, I must be lazy. Why don't I just get up and, hit the, just try to write something, sort of like take it as like a 9 to 5.
Right.
But maybe there's a balance that I just haven't found. It is very much like an emotionally based kind of an experience for me when I write, or something kind of presents itself and moves through, and almost like I feel like it's a bit cliche because many of the songwriter has said it before, but almost like you're a vessel. Not even almost, you are a vessel for this thing that is coming through. And so just to try to be open for when that energy or that melody or that spirit or whatever it is kind of shows up. But that's the approach that I've taken, and not on purpose. It's just when it shows up, I try to get it. I try to get it the best that I can.
That makes a lot of sense. So are you already thinking about the follow-up to Strawberry Mansion?
What? Yeah, sure. And what I think about, because now I wrote quite a few songs after Strawberry Mansion, and I thought, well, fucking great. I've unlocked the secret. I'm just going to constantly write. Every week I'm going to have a new song. And then I haven't finished a song in a handful of months. So honestly, what I'm kind of working on is to take the pressure off again, but to remain, so you try to hold myself accountable in some ways, and work for it, but also, all right, well, here's just, I'll just try to break it down like this. Something that I've been thinking about a lot lately is when one, such as myself, but many others as well, I think, get their fill of themselves, of their self-confidence, of their self-worth, of their identity through whatever the thing might be. In my case, it's
so far I follow you. You have not lost me yet.
Yeah, I had a feeling I could go here with you and that I wouldn't lose you. And then when that thing feels like it isn't, thriving in the way that you want it, because for me, and I think a lot of us, we want to have control over it, and I want to pick up the guitar and have a song, and when I'm not active in the thing, I start slipping as far as it's like an interesting identity exercise of like, so now it's like in my advanced age of 41, having done this my whole life and still sort of experiencing that. I guess what I'm trying to say is the songs continue to come, and trying to have faith that they will, and continuing to try to be open and have my, for lack of a better way of putting it, my antennas out for what comes. And I think that's a big part of the work that I do, and that's how I try to nurture it. And I think what I'm trying to work on, which is both musical, but maybe of like just a life thing or a spiritual pursuit, is to not stare at the pot and wait for it to boil, and not feel kind of not my whole self because songs aren't coming, or then when they are coming, it's like it's a lot of sort of waiting for it, and then it's I don't know how to articulate it as well as I'd like to at the moment.
I think you just did, where you've kind of learned, first of all, to not put all the eggs in one basket creatively, to live your life, and then sometimes the creativity comes from that, and also to be open-minded to your approach, that the same approach is not always going to yield the album.
Yes.
Unless I misquoted you.
No, you did it better than I have. I mean, I think a lot of creative people have caused themselves emotional distress.
Yeah.
Maybe in pursuit of the work, and I've certainly done that. And so I'm trying. Another part of this whole album and where I'm at right now is that I got sober 9 years ago or so, and then I relapsed. And then before the pandemic, I got sober again, and sort of working, experiencing that and trying to to do things a little differently and to connect in different ways now than I did the first time, you know, when I first tried to be sober kind of on my own without much connection with anybody else. Yeah, there's I lost my train of thought. I think that it's
well, you had to change your approach because you weren't necessarily writing or performing sober, so therefore you now have to make a sober album. Oh, you're second guessing your process there, I would assume.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's a part of it too. And yeah, and it was a great gift because 3 or 4 months into getting clean again, I wrote 25 songs or something like that. So I guess I can't say that I can't write soberly, but yeah, it's just, I think the approach is to make better mistakes, as somebody told me recently, and to I mean, as far as the songwriting and art and music, like I feel like a brand new baby. Like the fire within has never, so there's always this sort of, which I love, but also that's a double-edged sword. There's also this like angst of wanting I just want it. I want to make something, and I want to make it now. And I think that many smarter people than myself have probably written and would argue that, that you have to live your life in order to get, and life is creative. It's not just the tangible song on the record, so to try to view my life like that. And then when the songs come, be present for them.
Well, the last thing I want to know before I let you go, when somebody meets you on the street, and of course there's so many hey mans, how you doing bros, can you do? What is the correct name to call you? Is it Langhorne? Is it Lang? Is it Mr. Slim? What do we call you?
Well, I've been called worse than those things. Some of my oldest friends, they do call me Langhorne, or they do call me Slim, and it's an endearing kind of a nickname. I gave myself that name as a kid, really, when I was a teenager, and it was more because I wanted to give my grandfathers told these great stories about their friends back in Philly when they were kids, and they all had these fantastic nicknames. So I dug that, and then as a lover of early blues music and everything, I kind of just but my mother named me Sean, and I don't keep that a secret. So if you like Lang, if you like Slim, if you like Sean, whatever you prefer. So when you see me on the street, you could
just don't call you
call me something. Yeah, exactly.
Well, the bottom line is thank you for the many years of great music. Looking forward to those gigs in Utah, the gigs back in New York, the next album, etc. Just keep up all the greatness there.
Thank you so much, brother.
Paltrocast.